Mrs. O'Loughlin here, and this video will give you an overview of Chapter 4, or an introduction to Chapter 4. But before we get into that, I want to give you an overview of where it stands with our standards. So if we go and take a look at our course documents, we are working on, in Chapter 4, algorithm design, and that's going to be ways that we can make the program do what we want it to do. And so you're going to be working with relational logical operators. You're going to be working with implementing the selection structures, if else, and switch. You're going to be working with loop structures, and we will use what's called the break and continue. Those will be lectures that we do. And also you need to show me how to handle errors and input validation, and you will also apply appropriate algorithms when we start designing classes. All of these standards fall under what I call standard number 2, which is algorithm design. So your decision structures, control structures, which include your looping structures, and error trapping. Those line up with our standards document back here. So whenever you see those particular items on this standards document line up directly with our course standards. So these are the standards that we are testing right now, or working on, and they are in chapters 4 and 5 of our textbook. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is that the reading schedule is your detailed view of what you should be working on in the textbook. And I don't remind you of this all the time, but once we start a chapter, the assumption is that you're working on that. Our standard numbers have changed, so this is standard 2. And this is going to show you what programs you should be working on, etc. And if we scroll down, I just want to highlight a couple of things. Number 1, when you get to doing your programs, you should now complete a desk check prior to coding, and I showed you in class how to comment that into your code at the bottom. And then, if possible, we want to incorporate a function, a menu, constants. You want to incorporate formatted output, all of those things that we've been starting to show you how to do. Okay, you do have it looks like a couple of options for programs. If you are more advanced, meaning you've already taken a different programming class other than the computer science principles, you might want to try one of the programs from chapter 6. If you're just first starting out with C++, please choose a program from chapter 4. Okay? Last but not least, in order to earn an exemplary grade, you need to be choosing programs that are more challenging. If we go back to Blackboard and we take a look at our content, and this is actually not your class. You'll get to choose programs from chapters 4 and 5, and there are going to be some specific programs that we assign, but an exemplary program will need to use more complex applications of relational operators and logical operators. So if you are consistently choosing the easier programs to do, you will not earn an exemplary grade. You need to challenge yourself more. Also, please note here, the directions say submit a desk check prior to coding. Just include that desk check in your comments of your code, but you should do those prior to coding. And then this one is also going to indicate that you need to validate your input, and we will talk about that in some of the videos. That is your overview of chapter 4, and that's how it aligns with our current standards, and that is standard 2 that we're working on currently.